Em nome do governo português, que dou as boas-vindas a todos, convidados nacionais e internacionais, na pessoa do Sr. Diretor-Geral da Organização Mundial de Saúde. Durante este workshop, com a participação de especialistas nacionais e internacionais, autarcas, académicos, profissionais de saúde, desportistas, cidadãos, vamos discutir formas de, através do reforço do poder local, apresentar os princípios consagrados no GAPA de forma ágil e efetiva. A moderar as sessões terei comigo, na primeira, o Dr. Justin Wagner, da Saúde Pública do Reino Unido, e na segunda, o professor João Breda, diretor do Centro Europeu da OMS para a Prevenção e Tratamento de Doenças Crónicas Não Transmissíveis, sediado em Moscou, e aqui em representação da diretora regional da OMS Europa, Dra. Susana Jacar, a quem não posso já agradecer todo o apoio que tem dado ao Estado português nesta batalha contra as doenças crónicas. O professor João Breda, para si, Portugal terá sempre as portas abertas no dia que quiser regressar. Mas neste momento a sua capacidade de trabalho e a sua competência devem ser totalmente aproveitadas. E por isso esperamos que continue na OMS a desenvolver o excelente trabalho que tem realizado e que é um orgulho para o nosso país. Feita esta introdução, passarei a palavra ao Sr. Diretor-Geral da OMS, o Dr. Tedros, que nos falará sobre a importância das autarquias na promoção da atividade física. Muito obrigado.
For the opening address, I called the Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus.
Good afternoon. First of all, Excellency State Minister, Excellency President of the Football Federation of Portugal, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Today, maybe I would like to start before my formal speech, maybe something I would like to share with you. What I believe some of the ingredients are to act really local while thinking global. I had a meeting this morning with His Excellency the Minister and his colleagues, and that was a visit to a primary care called Basha, I think, and I can share with you three important things I have learned, and which actually WHO also advocates for. One, a shift which you're already doing from big hospitals to a primary health care, to health promotion, disease prevention. It's not just managing disease, but more important is building healthy societies. And that's very important shift. So primary health care is one. And the second is working with the education sector, especially in our schools, to teach our kids to live healthy lifestyle. Not only aging, but aging healthy. And it starts from childhood, as you know. Actually, it starts from pregnancy. And the third element is the strong media campaign. They actually prescribe physical activity to their patients. And they teach them the benefits of being active. And they have a program now called Walk with a Doctor, Walk with a Doc, which they do on a regular basis, again to teach physical activity. So they're talking to the people they serve to be active. That's local. They're doing it local, but they can think globally too, because it's part of the global movement now. So that's primary health care. And take the school. Through the school,
not only you influence the kids to choose a healthy lifestyle, but the children, when they go to their families and talk to their parents, they also influence the families. So from primary health care, you can get to the families directly, and through school, you can get to the families. And that can help us to ensure what we are saying now, the action locally. And the third, I was impressed today when we spoke with the minister, and where is Francesco was making a presentation. And many of the major media outlets have agreed to speak about physical activity and other, the use of salt, use of sugar as part of their social responsibility. And media campaign is important because the narratives in the media go to each and every household. It's the media that's now influencing the mind of be it children or adults. And social responsibility by the media is important again. And these are three important elements: primary health care, school, and media. All this to empower communities, for communities to take responsibility. We shouldn't consider communities as just mere consumers. They're not. They can take care of themselves if they get the right skills and knowledge through the three channels which I have just said. They can take responsibility. They can even bring their resources. And that's what you're trying to do by creating movements. These are three ways to get to the family or to the individuals, but to use, that's what you call movement, or how to create movement, and the act locally principle. And that's why I asked the minister and his colleagues, Fernando is here, to work with WHO even more. You can be a model. I have seen on NCDs you have made really good progress. We know the data for many countries. And you have chosen the right things and you're already making progress. The cost of NCDs is really increasing, non-communicable diseases. You have a very good NHS, or what you call social national Servicio Nacional Salud. Servicio Nacional Salud. You have that, but it may not be sustainable if NCDs continue to rise and put more pressure in terms of the financial needs on the system itself. You have one of the best systems on earth, and you have to be proud of that. And you started that since 1979, which is in your constitution, which shows a bold political commitment. And that's very important. But what I'm saying now is, even with NCDs now on the increase, you're doing the right things. When I visited Basha, I asked the doctor, what are the major consultations here, maybe cases? He said, diabetes and hypertension. Of course, then obesity and so on, it can come at NCDs. I think you have chosen the right direction and you're doing well, and we would like to work with you and use Portugal as a model. Maybe sometimes when you have something at hand, you don't appreciate it, but you have something to appreciate, and I'm being honest with you. So, sorry, I will take then maybe 5 or 6 minutes more to read my speech also at the opening for me. Or you want me to stop here? I said the right thing, so maybe. Boa tarde e muito obrigado. As you know, I spoke earlier today about how important cities are for creating the environment in which health can flourish. The theme of this meeting is Think global, act local. In many ways, that's what WHO is all about. As the world's leading authority on health, we spend a lot of time analyzing global trends, agreeing on global action plans, and setting global standards. But those plans and standards don't mean anything unless they result in local action, unless they have an impact in the lives of people and communities. A plan that's on a shelf is no use to anyone. At the World Health Assembly a couple of weeks ago, our member states, including Portugal, approved a new general program of work, our strategic plan for the next 5 years. At its heart are 3 ambitious targets that we aim to achieve by 2023. 1 billion more people benefiting from universal health coverage. 1 billion more people made safer against health emergencies. And 1 billion more people enjoying better health and well-being. These targets are designed to make sure we don't only think global, but we act local. WHO has often half of the world's population lives in cities. And by 2050, the world's urban population will double in size. Most of this will occur in low and middle-income cities. Cities are places where human health can either flourish or be destroyed. So if we want to promote health and prevent disease, we must build healthier cities that are less polluting and less destabilizing to our climate. Healthy cities are built around communities and prioritize walking and biking networks instead of parking, cycling, and public transport. Today's workshop is an important opportunity to share experiences and best practices. Promoting physical activity is very important for WHO. Just before the World Health Assembly, we had an event called Walk the Talk in Geneva, with more than 4,000 people coming together to walk and run to promote physical activity. We all need to be active at all ages, but especially our children. We need to get them off their screens and out into the park or riding their bikes. As political leaders, our job is so much. Muito obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you, Director General. I'm Justin Varney from Public Health England, and it's particularly fortuitous in the 70th year of WHO to see WHO taking such strong action on physical activity. I'd like to invite Bronwyn Thornton to join us to talk about walking in the context of municipalities from the perspective of Walk 21, a global activity that encourages us all to walk every day. Thank you, Bronwyn.
About walking. I also do quite a bit of it myself. I want to start by introducing a friend of mine that some of you might have heard about, Mick Cornett, the mayor of Oklahoma. When he became mayor of Oklahoma, he was proud of his city, and he suddenly found it appearing on lists. And he thought, oh, great, we're on lists. And then he discovered that his city was on the fattest cities in America. And he was a bit shocked by this. It's not the list a city strives to be on. And then he discovered that he was clinically obese, something that had never occurred to him just in living his everyday life. So he set about to change this, and some of you might know it. He put his city on a diet, and he took the people with him in 2007, but dieting wasn't enough. He discovered that physical activity was necessary as well. And he went about building sidewalks. Not many mayors celebrate the opening of a sidewalk. They prefer bridges and football stadiums. But Mick Cornett celebrated 400 kilometers of sidewalks, and you can see him here. And to pay for this, he did a 1% tax increase, sales tax increase. But because the city was behind him and believed in what he was doing, they were willing to pay that price. And that's because the built environment where we live has a direct impact on how much we move. The research is definitely in 14 cities in 10 countries across the globe, across a diversity of cities. The research now recognizes that residential density, the frequency of public transport stops, the density of intersections, and the provision of parks has a direct relationship with how much we move. This is Hong Kong. Everyone thinks, they just walk in Hong Kong. Of course they just walk. But they don't realize how much they walk, and they walk because it's a habit and because it's easy, and it connects them with public transport to make a longer journey. But it's not just in high-density cities where this happens. This research was in Bogota, Mexico, in Denmark. In smaller cities like New Plymouth, 75,000 people. Hastings, 80,000 people in New Zealand. The research literally came out last month. It's like, yes, thank you, I need that for a presentation shortly. It shows that if you build and educate the community, the cost-benefit analysis of these interactions is 10-to-1. Not only do you get increases in physical activity, but you get reductions in carbon emissions as well. So when next week I go and start talking about carbon reduction, I'll be taking this set of slides. This is win-win. And this is win-win-win because it's a win for the economics of the city, it's a win for the people, it's a win for the planet, and it's a win for the social health of this community. This picture is a lawn outside the library, and you are allowed to take your books out and sit on the grass. And it's all about connecting people with their investing and walking. This left corner over here, Santiago, Chile, there's a reason that's red, and that's because the Bank of Santander to the public space, because they recognize that providing positive public space invited people to spend time, that this pays off in terms of the level of activities in their cities. So what do we have to do? Very quickly, we have to make space. We have to make it safe, because where cars and people intersect, it gets dangerous for the pedestrian. I don't talk about vulnerable road users, I talk about the dangerous ones. Let's start with us as the norm in our cities and our urban environments. But it's not just in our urban environments that we must provide facilities. You can see here, this is a more rural road with cycling and walking facilities as well. And this is a new park to encourage people to come out. We've built miles and miles and miles of suburbs, particularly in my home country of Australia, what they call obesogenic environments, acres and acres of ridiculous, can't go anywhere places. But we must also make it nice. We must invite people to come, not just enable them to walk in their local communities. The rise of motorization has stolen all the public space from walkers, and we have to return to valuing walking. We need to value and support walking. We need to provide the infrastructure and the motivation to use it in our communities, in all our communities. And this is from Bangladesh, but I must point out some of the best work right now in building that very valuable sidewalk that the mayor of Oklahoma was celebrating. A lot of that is happening across India and Jakarta and places like that. There's a lot of infrastructure because it's the urban fabric that we need to change. So coming back to Europe, this is Vienna. Everyone thinks, well, Vienna, they've done it. They've got it, 30% walking, 30% public travel. But they don't rest on their laurels. They invited us, we had our conference there a couple of years ago, and they did an entire year of walking because they recognized not only to provide the urban fabric for it, but to maintain its value in the community and to promote it and to maintain mode share. And they spent a year promoting walking, inviting people to be involved, and the results came back. People thought it was most excellent. Now, if you think walking takes a bit of political gumption, you're absolutely right. The vice mayor of Vienna wanted to pedestrianize Maria Hilferstrasse, which is a big shopping street. She had death threats. She couldn't move without protection. She had to absolutely stand her ground on political will to get that sort of facilities in. Not in the old town, not in the easy bits, but in the harder bits. And as we move out of those easy bits, the waterfronts, the old towns of our cities, we have to look at how we connect people with public transport to bring them in from those suburbs. And we have to look at making it very walkable around the destinations to where they... It's not guesswork about what to do, but it is work. There are plenty of resources, there's plenty of ideas, there's plenty of things to know and learn and to understand how we do walking. And I'd like to finish that As political officers, as public officers, we need 3 things to make walking happen. 3 signatures, if you like. We need commitment, which was mentioned by the Director General of WHO this morning. It need to commit, we need to have a vision, so we need your signature on an international charter for walking or on a strategic plan for your city. We need your signature on the check to invest in the infrastructure and the programs to activate our communities. And we need signature projects to inspire people that it's possible, to shift the paradigm, to say that walking matters and we're going to invest big time. It's not a sidewalk. It certainly got the mayor out and ribbon cutting in this context in Seoul, in South Korea. But walking needs all these things. It's the fine grain of our communities, and it's these big picture, change your mind, change your lifestyle stories. Obrigado.
Great. Thank you, Bronwyn, and hopefully for many of the mayors in the room, that's inspired you to see some of what is possible and the art of the imagination come to play. So I'd now like to invite Randy Renwick to talk to us from the European Cycling Federation, a group that represents over 91 different members working in over 46 countries across Europe to bring cycling into everyday life. Randy.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk cycling just for a minute, because cycling is about saving lives. A 100,000 people can be saved each year if they will walk, if all adults in Europe will walk or cycle an extra 15 minutes. This is because there are so many people who are not doing anything. We need to target the sedentary, the ones who are not moving at all. This number comes from the WHO's HEAT tool, which is celebrating its 10th birthday. This is a great tool that you can use, which will show you the value of the decisions. That some people really want to cycle, and they'll do it in the rain, they'll do it in the traffic, but these things are not the good, safe places to do it. We need to be doing it. We need to change our cities to make them better. How can we do that? First, listen to the children. Children know. They want to walk and cycle. They tell adults, their parents, their teachers, we want to walk and cycle. But the parents and the adults say, no, 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 you can't do that. Listen to the children. Provide them space, safe space to get to school. Start with the first 500 meters around schools and build from there. And for the adults, throughout the lifespan, make safe space for them too. This is an example, of a safe space where there are no cars. We can't, in every city and town, build them, but we can reduce the number of cars, the volume and the speeds of the cars in space. Road safety has to be number one. Cycling is relatively, compared to walking, it's just about as safe. But in Europe, more than 30,000 people are dying every year. This is a number that's much too high. Consider it's unreasonable to let children or their husbands or wives go out into this space. On the other hand, we need to look beyond the lives that we could save from avoiding the crashes to look at the lives we can save by letting people out walking and cycling. And on that point, the WHO has been supporting Vision Zero, and Vision Zero is about no traffic deaths. In the Scandinavian countries, they're actually saying we need to go beyond that because it's not achieving yet, so we can even do better. How? Safe space, lower speeds, and then lots of bikes. Right now, we're seeing public bike share all over the world. It's doing great things in cities, most importantly in China. And I want to tell you, you've probably seen and heard terrible stories and pictures about bike share bikes piling up, making terrible, I won't say this is fake news, I'll say it's a distraction. The reality is that bike share is providing high levels of mode share, increasing the number of people who are using bikes in cities in China, in Europe, in the Americas. It's working in cities all around the world. Bike to shop. This is the third excuse why people say, we can't bike. I can't give up my car. I need my car to shop. Mostly I need it to shop for food. And who's going to argue with that? I will, because 90% of trips to supermarkets, the people coming out do not need cars. They can bring the things that they've bought home on a bike. What kind of bike? That kind of bike most of the time with just a basket and a bag. But if they read really big things, maybe they need bikes like these. And there's lots of them. These ones have electric, and that's the next point. Because in countries around the world, and Croatia, and the mayor of Krakow, I have to say he's another leader, I can't pronounce his name, but this beautiful bridge, which he had to fight for it, because they said, why are you going to bridge for walking and cycling? There's a bridge over there, and there's a bridge over there. The mayor said, they're not going to use them. This bridge now has changed that city. So in conclusion, and you can see this bicycle made with the sustainable development colors, walking, cycling is the way to improve public health and more sustainable urban mobility. Thank you very much. Obrigado.
Great, thank you. So if I can invite Scarlett and Mario and Francisco to join us to share some of their reflections. So you'd like to come up onto the sofas. Lovely, just grab a seat, whichever, doesn't matter. Great. if you can join us as well. And in the short time we have left, I'm going to ask our three new members to share some reflections, and then Bronwyn and Randy will have a chance to respond at the end. So first, coming to you, Scarlett, as a district councillor from the Sha Tin district of Hong Kong, and with your work in the Alliance for Healthy Cities across the Asia region, what do you feel are the most important factors to promote in Asia?
I think it's quite important that we have leadership. Leadership in different level. The first level will be in global level. Like WHO, they have the tool for helping us to guide us. And then the country level and the city level and the community level, so the commitment to it. That's very crucial. And one of the things that I can give two examples. In Hong Kong, like in Sha Tin or overall Hong Kong, the government actually still talking about using bicycle as a sport or leisure. But we would like to persuade them to use it as utility cycling. So that's quite crucial, because when working people can actually use it for day-to-day commuting to work, is exercise for them. And secondly, like in Cambodia, the capital city, they have to improve the sidewalk, so that the pedestrian can walk safely. And also the traffic sign, have to be very clear for the direction, and implementation has to be very clear, so that everybody know what they have to do, and that's much safer.
Thank you. And an important reminder that there are many places in the world we can all learn from. So coming to you, Mario Alves, as your role as Secretary General of the International Federation of Pedestrians, obviously you've been in this field for many years, and we've talked a lot about what can make life safer for pedestrians. Are we really making a difference? Is it getting better?
Bom, antes de mais, as minhas desculpas não falar português, mas por gentileza com o nosso moderador, I will speak in English, okay? Thank you very much. Okay. I will start, before speaking about SAFE, I will speak about something that is very important for many politicians and mayors that are in this room. It's very important narrative, a story that is positive about your future of your city. I think that's a very important thing, and then work a lot in interdisciplinary fields. I am a civil engineer. I'm starting to work more and more with architects, doctors, and all that. And that's a very, very important thing. So the Department of Sport, the Department of Education, so that the children start to learn how to ride their bicycles, how to walk to school, and all that. It's very, very important. And then there is the networks, of all the councils that you work with, and especially, I would say, work with the illustrators, work with before and after pictures, which tell the story, and do go and visit with your fellow politicians. Make people to park around the city center and then walk. It's very good for your shops, because nobody buys anything inside their cars. And if people walk, if people go to school or to their work with their bicycles, it will be safer for everybody. But for that, you need to be quite strong, and I know, because I work with politicians, I know it's not easy. So you need to make it narrower streets. Instead of simple zebra crossings, you can make platforms so that, that they are gentle for cyclists. And of course, very, very important that that only have 4 years to show your work. You should treat public space as the place where you really show off your talents and your investment. So it is the public space that will show the quality to your voters and to the walkers and the cyclists, the children and the parents. So please concentrate on the very good quality public space. In Europe, is getting older, so people need to sit down. I always say that it's parking for pedestrians, so people should sit down. People should have trees because Portugal is very hot, Southern Europe is very hot, so people have trees. And please don't do sports facilities outside the city center. Do micro and little parks with machines that people can do and integrate their physical activity in their daily lives. So if you walk, if you cycle, you can use your machine to work. There is even
this space. I know both Bronwyn, Randy, Mario, myself and Fiona are always desperate for cities to be leading the way, and we will do some of that promotion for you as well to celebrate it. So Francisco, from the Ministry of Health perspective, you have a national plan in Portugal, which is fantastic, and I was pleased to be here. Several years ago to help launch that agenda. But one of the challenges we see internationally is how do we truly get joined up government so that the policies across government are all working in the same direction to enable people to have active lives?
So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. And we did that. Probably it was almost too late. And it took us to realize that, in fact, NCDs may put our national health system sustainable. It took that for us to is in the hospitals. Health is in primary care. So people seek for health when they are sick. Perspective, in my opinion, is overrated. It's from the past. So, and we wanted to change that because only if we change the way we think, we will be able to achieve better outcomes. So we decided we would need to engage everyone to make like a full of strategy. Engage healthcare. Oh, this is schools. This is a matter of the... We don't engage environment. No. First, the most difficult but the most effective thing is put them all in the same table with a goal. And that's what we've done. So, guys, we have this goal and we must commit and agree in something. And even if it is not that bold, that hard, it's always better than working alone. So we did that. And we tried to fill a gap that existed, that was like a clear sign from all the government sides saying, we are committed. But here we are discussing something else, the municipality's role. And I have no doubt that as a young generation member, I agree with that. But a lot of more conservative people went, oh, let's not do that, we are voting against that. So we have been driving through the city since we can remember. It will not be accessible for everyone. Guys, in the future, aims to do that also.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to come to Randy and Bronwyn for the last questions. And Bronwyn, just to give you heads up, because I'm going to start with Randy, I'm going to be talking to you about the changing nature of life in cities and the digital revolution, how that changes the way we live our lives. But Randy, if I can start with you, and one of the challenges we often hear about cycling is how do we make this inclusive for all and accessible for all? And I think on a global stage and across Portugal, many cities are wealthy, many cities are not wealthy, and that poverty can be a real barrier to cycling. And how can we change that?
There's an organization in Africa called World Cycle Relief, which uses money from industry. They designed the buffalo bike, that's what they call it, for African conditions, which means they don't get regular maintenance. It's strong enough to hold up. these buffalo bikes are aspirational vehicles. Some people want to get a car and a bigger car and a bigger car. Well, in many places in the world, like in Africa, in India, many other parts of the world, simply having a bicycle is an aspirational vehicle. And these buffalo bikes have changed many communities because they are being used by professionals to deliver babies. That's right, midwives go to deliver babies on a buffalo bike. Healthcare is being delivered. Healthcare professionals are going to the work, to the clinics, or to the homes on buffalo bikes, and lots of other things. This is not a commercial enterprise. It's a byproduct, and it works really well. In more industrialized cities, bike share and e-bikes. What I didn't say about e-bikes before is that they are for many people who would not consider cycling. Who's going to think about cycling in a hot country with hills? Well, in Lisbon, that's now possible. There's an excellent bike share system, which is having some teething pains getting started, but it's working really well here and in a lot of other cities. Well, but in flatter cities and flatter places, e-bikes are being used by people who couldn't think to bike to work 5 or 10 or 15 kilometers. 2 or 3, maybe. But all over the world, e-bikes can be used by people who simply couldn't think to cycle. They're not feeling fit enough to be able to get moving and get on a bike, but with an e-bike, they can. And this is a way that we can reach more and more people with accessible and have them be able to